start recording the session. Okay, it's being recorded. And whatever questions you guys have, you know, I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to go over anything that you guys might need. So fire away. Ask me. I'm right here, ready to help.
Mr.
Uh-huh.
They have the question number 7 on the chat box, but mine is a further question down towards the end of the review. So I'll let them go first.
Okay, well, I'm the one who put number 7. It was just kind of like an example. I was putting like, oh, you guys here, how do I do number 7? That was just me. So I can answer. Give me 1 second. One of our students is having some trouble getting here, so I'm gonna send a picture out so that everybody can see how we got to this deal right here. So let's see. Un momento, por favor, so I can take a picture of this thing. Right, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So let's see.
Where can we see that review? Is it on Blackboard?
Can you see the review right now?
Just on my screen, but like I don't know where exactly
So
where.
That's from my math lab, right? That's the same review in my lab and math screen. You know what I mean? So all I did is I just printed it out from my lab and math screen.
Oh, okay. So we already have done that.
Yeah, that's right. All I did is just print it out so that I can share the screen with you guys. And then what I was going to do is just answer questions from it. So it's the same review that you guys have been working on. All I did is I printed it to PDF and then uploaded it so I could because I'll be able to write on my screen and you guys will be able to see that. Kind of like the way we've been doing the videos. So let me see. I just sent that info out, guys, for everybody. Give me 1 quick second. Let me get back to where we were. Here we go. Okay, so perfect. Everybody's here. Okay. Any questions? Say 1, 2, or 3. Were we good with 1, 2, or 3? We're good so far, maybe? About say 4, 5, or 6, or 7, or 8? Anybody got any questions on any of those? So those of you who've been working on the review, like if you had any questions, are we good there? Oh, let me turn off my phone, guys. We good with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8? What about 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Anybody got any questions from 9, 10, 11, 12, 13? Oops, let me see, I heard something. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so we're still good here. Guys, 14.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Tell me.
Oh, there was one on the chat box, but I had a question on 15, so I'll wait until.
Okay, no, but the one on the chat box, the number 7, that was me typing that out. I'm the one that wrote that. I was just trying to give you guys an example of what to ask me. But you got number 15, so I'll tell you what. Let's do number 15.
I'm sorry, there's 2 that are further than 15.
Okay, maybe I'm not seeing it. Okay, I see it now. I see it. For the population sample, what's a way or recommended way to help distinguish the difference? Excellent question. Perfect. I'm glad you asked me. And okay, and then Kyla's question, are the questions I have different from the ones with MyMathLab? So this is what I was saying a little while ago, guys. So remember, the review has 30 questions, right? I'm picking 14 of these 30 questions. The questions are pretty much the same. The only thing that changes are the numbers, but the question is still the same kind of question, right? So like I'm gonna make this up. Like I'm on the review right now. I'm gonna just kind of scroll to number 16, right? So like if I'm looking at number 16 and I look at my numbers here, if this question was on your test tomorrow, these numbers would probably be a little bit different, right? That's going to be the difference. But the way I'm going to do number 16 would be exactly the same. Okay, so yes, the questions are the same, but the numbers change, but it's the same type of question. So if tomorrow, if number 16 on the review is on your test, the way, if we do number 16 tonight, the way we do number 16 would be the same way that you guys would do it tomorrow. Okay, so getting back to the question about, let me see, for population and sample, yes, let me get back to population and sample. So let me scroll back up to the top where we can find that. Okay, so when I'm looking at population and sample, like this is for questions like 1 and 2. Okay, population refers to the entire group, and sample would refer to a smaller set of a group. So for instance, we have our class. I think there's about 26 or 27 of us, right? And we have both men and women in the class. So if I were to say, all of our students, that would refer to a population. But if I were to say only the female students, then that would refer to the sample. So when I'm looking at question number 1, and I look at question number 1, let me get my pen here, and it says determine whether the data set is a population or a sample. It says the ages of 3 families of people in an apartment building housing 10 families. So if you think about this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to make this real small. 9, 10. So there are the 10 families, right, in the apartment building. So because it's housing 10 families. Now we're only going to look at the ages of 3 of them. So we're going to pick any 3. Because we're picking 3 out of that 10, it's going to be a sample because it's a collection for 3 families that's a subset of all the populations. It's only part of it, right? It's only part of it. And then number 2 says determine whether the data set is a population or a sample, the number of garages for each house on a street. Okay, so if here's my street, this is the entire street, and here are all the houses, right? And say 3 of them have a garage. The number of garages for each house on the street. This is going to be a population because I'm counting all the garages, right? So I'm going to say, look, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. How many garages does this one have? 0, but I'm still counting it. I'm looking at every single house. So it's going to be a population because it's a collection of the number of the garages of all the houses. So think about it this way. Population should have the word all, and sample is only going to be some. So I hope that clarifies a little bit, Victoria. I hope that kind of makes it a little bit easier to understand when we're dealing with population and sample. Good. Guys, before I get to number 15, did anybody have any questions between, like, say, 2 and 15 or 3 and 15?
No, sir, but I don't know if everyone will be okay with this, but what if we just go through every question just so we can be sure of every question that we go through? Because, like, I'm not sure. Like,
We've been here for a while, but we can do it. We can do it. Okay, so let's look here. It says determine whether the underlying number is a statistic or a parameter. Okay, so number 3 says determine if it's a statistic or a parameter in the study of what? What's the word you see after the word of? Anybody know? Can anybody tell me what's the word after the word? Let's see. I'm hearing something in the chat. Ooh, all, there we go. Perfect. Okay. So since we see the word all, right? When we see the word all, that's referring to a population. And if we're talking about a population, then it's going to be a parameter, right? So remember, in the notes, guys, in the videos, I talked about this, right? Parameter is going to be population, and statistic is going to be sample, right? So, guys, we could go through every single problem. The issue with that, though, is there's people here who've done the review who don't necessarily need for me to go through 4, through 5, through 6, through 7, right? And that's not really the idea here. The idea is not for me to sit and do every single question. The idea was really for me to go through the questions that you have trouble on, right? So, guys, that was why I was very adamant, very clear, like, make sure that you work on the review. So, look, I'm going to skip around. I'll do a couple others, but I'm going to skip around a little bit just so that we can figure out, you know, how to do some of them. But, like, we did 3, I'll skip 4. So how about if we look at, like, say, 5 or 6? It says determine whether the data is quantitative or qualitative, okay? And it's talking about the number of seats. Remember, so we're talking about the number. Is the number a quality? Oops, come on, pen. Is the number a quality or is the number a quantity? Well, it's going to be a quantity, right? That kind of thing. Let's see. Let me skip around a little bit. Let's see. Number 8, same kind of thing. Wait times at the banks. Is this going to be quantitative or is this going to be qualitative? Well, if we're talking about the wait time, you have to wait 3 minutes. You have to wait 7 minutes. You have to wait 42 minutes. This is a quantity because they are numerical measurements, right? So guys, I am going to go back and do number 6 because I want you to think about number 6. And it says, determine whether the data is qualitative or quantitative. And it says the number on the shirts of a girl's soccer team, right? So if I'm looking at the shirts, right? Here's the shirt. And it's going to say number 7. And here's another shirt. And it says number 13. Those numbers don't represent a value, right? Like number 7, you could replace number 7 with Sanchez, right? It's just number 7. It's just like the name. It's the name. Who's number 7? Oh, that's Brittany. Who's number 13? Oh, that's Christina, right? That kind of thing. So these would be qualitative, right? It's not a number. Number 7 doesn't mean that the 7th best person on the team. Same thing with 13, right? It's just a number because you can replace those numbers with names, okay? But you couldn't replace like the number of seats in a movie theater. You couldn't replace that with a name, right? You couldn't say, oh, the theater holds 180 people. We're going to call it Steve. That doesn't make sense, right? Okay, so let's keep it kind of going on here. Let's see. Let's take a look at number 10. Determine whether the study depicts an observational study or an experiment. A medical researcher obtains a sample of adults suffering from diabetes. She randomly selects 92 people to a treatment group, 92 to a placebo group. The treatment group receives a medication, and the placebo group receives a placebo. Question, anybody know, is this an experiment or is this an observational study? For number 10? Let's see, I hear something in the chat. Excellent. Perfect. You guys got it. Excellent. Good, guys. Hombre, those of you who are answering these questions, I hope you have a nice warm feeling in your panza because you're going to do really well, right? Let's see, not because you had like chile rellenos for lunch or something like that. Good, 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 good. Okay, so look, let's skip down to number 13. And let's see if we can figure out the, it says use the minimum and maximum data entries and the number of classes to find the class width, the lower class limits, and the upper class limits. Okay, so class width, remember the way we're gonna find the class width, so guys, I'm gonna stop sharing this screen with you because I'm gonna share a different one with you guys right now. Let's see, where are we? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to see if you guys can see. Yes, you guys can see this now. Okay, so guys, what I'm pulling up right here, these are the notes from chapters 1 and 2, right? And it says, number 1 says, decide on the number of classes to include in the frequency distribution. The number of classes should be between 5 and 20. And then it says, find the class width as follows. Determine the range of the data. Divide the range by the number of classes. And if you notice right here, it says round up. Okay, guys, we're always going to round up to the nearest number. So let me stop sharing this and let me go back to the problem that we had, which was right here. And let me make sure that you guys can see that. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so we're going to find the range. Remember how we find the range? The range is the max number minus the min number. Okay, so my maximum is 88, my minimum is 9, and that's going to leave me with 79. And then what we're going to do now, the way we're going to find our class width is we're going to take that number 79 and we're going to divide it by the number of classes. Okay, so guys, I'm just going to grab my calculator. I'm going to use my phone right here, and I'm just going to say, what's 79 divided by 7? Okay, and I'm coming up with 11.28, and there's some more numbers after that, but it's 11.28. Now, this is the thing. Normally, we would say, well, look, we're not going to round that number up. 11.28 is closer to 11. But the notes, right, the process for finding the class width is it doesn't matter if it's 11.28 or if it's 11.75, it doesn't matter. We're going to round that number to 12. So my class width here is going to be 12. Okay. Now, it says, okay, what are my lower class limits? Okay. So it says use the minimum as the first lower class limit. So the minimum is 9. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding 12 to that number. So I'm going to take my calculator and I'm going to go 9 plus 12. That's going to give me 21. Oops. That's going to give me 21. I'm going to add 12 again. That's going to give me 33. I'm going to add 12 again. It's going to give me 45. I'm going to add 12 again. It's going to give me 57. I'm going to add 12 again. It's going to give me 69. Let me see how many I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got to do this one more time. I'm going to add 12 again. And that's going to give me 81. Okay. All right. So if you were to think about this, and I'm going to kind of write it here like 9, 21, 33, 45, 57, 69, and 81, right? So remember, we're finding class widths, right? We're finding classes. So the easy way to do this one here is if this number starts at 21, that number would have had to have ended at 20, right? And then if I add 12, that's going to give me 32, 44, 56, 68, 80, 92. And then all I would have to do is take these numbers and write them right here because it's asking me to put them in a list. There we go. Okay. And that's all I would have to do for that problem. So that's all it's asking me to do for number 13, right? So again, making sure, the one thing I really wanted to mention here, guys, and I'm going to stop sharing the screen, I'm going to share the other one more time, is I really wanted to make sure that everybody understood that when I'm doing this part right here, when I'm finding my class width, and it tells me right here, it says, I got to round up to the next convenient number, okay? So no matter what number you get, you're always going to round it up. 11.1 is 12. 11.9 is 12. You come up with 4.003, it's 5. You come up with 4.8, it's still 5. You're always rounding up, okay? So that's the main thing I really wanted to mention when it came to that. Okay. So let's get back to the review. This one here. Okay. And so the other one that somebody had was number 15. Okay. So let's see if we can figure out number 15. And so for number 15, it says, use the frequency distribution shown below to construct an expanded frequency distribution. Okay, so we have our classes, we have our frequencies. What we need to do is we need to find our midpoints, we need to find our relative frequency, and we need to find our cumulative frequency. Okay, so the first thing is going to be, how do we find the midpoint? So I'm going to show you that one more time. And so right here, there we go. So let me scroll down a little bit, guys. Here we go. This is how I'm going to find, oops. This is how I'm going to find my midpoint. I'm going to take my lower class limit and I'm going to take my upper class limit. I'm going to add them together and I'm going to divide by 2. And then if I'm going to find my relative frequency, the way I'm going to find, that's not the one I was trying to give me 1 second. Oops, lost it. Here we go. And the way I'm going to find my relative frequency is I'm going to take my class frequency and divide it by my sample size, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how we're going to do this part right here, because this is what's going to pertain to this particular problem. Alrighty, so let's come back to our problem here. Okay, so finding the midpoint. I'm going to up the lower and the upper, 17 plus 27. That should give me something like 44. I'm going to divide it by 2. That's going to give me 22. Okay. So I know that my midpoint for the first class is 22. Guys, if I wanted to find my class width, okay, if I wanted to find my class width, what I'm going to do is I can say, look, let me subtract those 2 lower numbers. What I mean by the 2 lower numbers, let me subtract 28 and 17. And if I subtract those 2 numbers, I'm going to end up with 11. So 11 is my class width. That means that what I can do is I can start adding 11 to that midpoint, and I'll find the rest of the midpoints. So then the next one here would be 33 and 44 and 55 and 66 and 77 and 88, right? And you can say, really? Is it really going to work that way? Yeah, look, we can check it. Look, why don't we take the last one? Why don't we take 83 and 93 and add them together? That's going to give me 176, and I'm going to divide it by 2, and you come up with 88. So that's how we can find our midpoints, okay? All right, so the next thing I need to do is I need to find my relative frequency, okay? So guys, the first thing I need to do, I need to find the sum here. I need to find the sum of those numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my calculator and I'm going to start adding those numbers up. So I'm going to say, what's 17 plus 45 plus 66 plus 67 plus, let's see, 17 plus 45 plus 66 plus 67 plus 82 plus 66 plus 22 equals. Okay, so when we added everything up, when I added all those numbers up here, what I came up with was 365. Okay. All right. So now the way I'm going to find relative frequency, I'm going to take each of these numbers here, and I'm going to divide them by 365. And it's telling me here, round it to the nearest hundredth. This means, guys, that we're going to go 2 decimal places. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, what's 17 divided by 365? And I'm coming up with 0.046. So if I'm coming up with 0.046, should I write 0.04 or should I write 0.05? Anybody know? What do y'all think? 0.04, 0.05, let's see. 0.05. Awesome. Very good. That's good. You guys got it. Perfect. Perfect. So right here, I'm going to put 0.05. Okay. We're going to do the same thing for the next one. So look, guys, now I'm going to take 45. 45 divided by 365. I'm coming up with 0.0123, so it'd be 0.012. 66 divided by 365, 0.18. Okay. 67 divided by 365, 0.18 again. Okay. 82 divided by 365, 0.22. Okay. 66 divided by 365, that was 0.18 again. And finally, 22 divided by 365, 0.06. Okay. All right, so there's my relative frequency. Now, the way I'm going to find my cumulative frequency is this. The first one is still going to stay 17. The next one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add those two numbers because it's accumulating, right? So I'm going to say, what's 17 plus 45? Oh, this is going to be 62. And then the next one is going to say, okay, well, look, let's add 66 to that. So if I add 66, this one here will be 128. And then if I add 67, it's going to be 195. And if I add 82, that's going to give me 277. And if I add 66, that's going to give me 343. And if I add 22, that's going to give me 365. And so there's my cumulative frequency. So did that make sense for number 15? Whoever had number 15, does that make sense how we're able to do that one? We're good, Thomas, we're good? Awesome, good, 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 perfect, good. You guys are doing great. Awesome, guys. Let's see. Any other questions that you guys have for me about any questions? So guys, remember, I'm happy to do any questions. You can put it in the chat. You can speak up. You know, we're all. The whole point of this here, guys, is to help you guys understand this material. Okay. So speak up. Put it in the chat. Whatever you want. I'm right here, and I'm happy to answer anything you guys have.
I know that 16 is kind of the same as 15, but I know that in the class you're supposed to like fill them in with the numbers that you have there. How are you?
Yeah, let's do 16. So guys, this was one that I've sent a video for it before, but let's do it because I think, you know, there's one thing is like me sending the video, but I know not everybody gets a chance to watch it when I send it out. So let's go ahead and go through this one because I think it's a good question. Okay, so 16, you're right. It's very similar to the one that we did. The only difference here is that we have to come up with the classes, the frequencies. We had already done the midpoint, relative, and cumulative, but we have to do the rest of it. Okay, so remember, first thing we're going to do, we're going to find the class, right? We have to find the class width. So we know we're going to have 5 classes, okay? First thing we're going to do, guys, we're going to find the range. So remember, the range says we're going to take the max number minus the min number. So again, guys, this is my 16. So when I hit print, or when I was doing like if I was doing this just like the way you were, my data set might be slightly different from yours, okay? But the process will be the same. So when I'm looking at this one here, the biggest number we have, it looks like it's 49, and the smallest number we have is 0, so my range is still 49. Now remember, we're going to take that number 49 and we're going to divide it by 5, okay? So when I take my calculator, and I'm just using my regular calculator, right, on 49 divided by 5, I'm coming up with 9.8. So can anybody tell me what's my class width going to be? Anybody know? What would our class be? If we come in, very good. We're going to get 10, Kimberly 10, perfect. Victoria 10, awesome, guys. Guys, let me ask you a quick question. If it was 9.1, would it still be 10? What do you think? If we can, yeah, still be 10, perfect. No, hombre, I think you guys are going to do perfect tomorrow. You guys are making me real happy tonight. All right. Okay, so here's my class width. Okay, so remember what we're going to do. We're going to find our classes here, we're going to take the smallest number. So that's going to be 0. And then I'm just going to start adding 10. Look, 10, 20, 30, 40, right? Okay, and then remember, now I need to find my upper limits. So my upper limits, it's always going to be one smaller than these here. So this would be 9, 19, 29, 39. And remember, I'm adding 10, right? So this one's going to be 49. Okay, now this next part, guys, it's not necessarily hard to do. It's just a little tedious, okay? So, oops, let me get my pen. Okay, I need to figure out how many numbers in this set are between 0 and 9. So typically the way I do it, guys, is I look at, like, say, the first one. Do I have any numbers between 0 and 9 there? No. What about in the next one? Yeah, I got 1. What about in the next one? I got 1, 2, so that's 3 so far. That's 4 so far. That's 5 so far. So there's 5 numbers between 0 and 9. I'm going to do the same thing now. I'm looking for numbers between 10 and 19. In the first one, no. In the second one, no. Third one, no. Fourth one, no. Fifth one, no. I don't have any between 10 and 19, right? I don't have any numbers in the teens. That's going to be 0. Okay. What about between 20 and 29? 1, 2, let's see, 3, 4. There's 4 of them. Okay. What about numbers between 30 and 39? In the first column, no. In the second column, no. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. Okay. And then what about numbers in the 40s? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I got 8 numbers right here. Okay. Okay. Now, next part. Let's see if we can find our midpoint. So remember, the way we're going to find the midpoint, we're going to take 0 plus 9 is 9. We're going to divide that by 2, and that's going to give me 4.5. So I'm going to do some green. So right here, guys, I'm going to add 4.5. Remember, our class width was 10, so I can just add 10. So look, this one is 14.5. This one here is 24.5, 34.5, and 44.5. Okay. All right. Now we got to find our relative frequency. So remember, the way we find our relative frequency, we need to take all these numbers and add them up. So if I take 5 plus 0 plus 4 plus 3 plus 8, that's going to give me a total of 20. So what I'm going to do for each of these numbers is I'm going to divide each of them by 20. So on my calculator, I'm going to say, what's 5 divided by 20? 0.25. So right here, that's 0.25. 0 divided by 20, still 0. 4 divided by 20, 0.2. 3 divided by 20 is 0.15. And 8 divided by 20 is 0.4. Okay. And then, let's see, cumulative frequency. So remember how we find cumulative frequency. If this one here was 5, then this one here is also going to be 5. And then I'm going to start adding the next number each time. So 5 plus 0 is still 5. Plus 4 is 9. Plus 3 is 12. And plus 8 is 20. Okay, so now that we have that part, then we can answer the next questions underneath it. It says, which class has the greatest frequency? So guys, what I'm doing is I'm looking at this column and say, which one of these is the biggest number here? I'm going to say, oh, 8's the one that has the biggest number, and that's for the class between 40 and 49. Okay. And then which one has the least frequency? Well, the 0 is the smallest one, and that's for the class between 10 to 19. So I think this was a great question to go over, guys, because like 15, this one is similar to 15, but I have to do all the steps. So let me ask you guys a question. If this same question was on your test tomorrow, you're taking it at 10 tomorrow morning, or whether you're taking it at 6:30 tomorrow night, do you all feel like you could do this question, even if the numbers were different? Because the numbers will be different, but do you feel like you could still do this type of problem? Yeah?
Yes.
Good, excellent, good, perfect, excellent, guys. That's the whole point. That's really what I wanted to do, to make sure that you guys felt comfortable with these problems, in that, you know, if you had to do the same question, but the numbers were different, you would say, oh yeah, I know exactly what to do, because we went over it last night, or whatever it happens to be, right? Excellent, very good. Okay, so guys, I'm going to keep scrolling down. Any other questions you guys want to ask me? 17, 24, 108, whichever.
Could we go over 22, 23?
23?
Yes.
Let me scroll down and get to 23. Okay, number 23 here says, the mean score of a competency test is 75 with a standard deviation of 4. It says use the empirical rule to find the percentage of scores between 63 and 87. Okay, so what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to stop sharing the screen real quick, because I'm going to share another one with you all. Let me see. Where is it? Here we go. And here. And this one here. And here we go. Okay, so I think you guys can see this. Let me double check to make sure that you can. Yes. Okay, so guys, this page right here, this is the formula sheet I wanted to mention. And well, I'll talk about the formula sheet in a second. But this part of the formula sheet, oops, let me kind of get it right here. I'm trying to center it for you all. Okay, so this part of the formula sheet right here that has this bell-shaped curve, I got this directly from the notes as well. Okay, so the one thing I wanted to mention, right here in the middle, we have that little X with a bar in it. That's my mean. Okay, that's my average. And then this plus S, if you notice, it's X plus S plus 2S plus 3S. That S stands for my standard deviation. So one thing I wanted to mention, remember what the standard deviation tells me. The standard deviation would tell me, like, if I said, look, let's everybody tell me how old you are, and we're going to take all our ages, and we're going to take all of your ages, and we're going to take my age too, and then we're going to add up all those numbers, and we're going to find the average, right? And I'm going to make this up. Suppose the average age of everybody in our class is, I don't know, 27.3, something like that. And then we're going to say, well, what is the average change in our ages? Meaning that, like, say the average age was 27.3, I'm 47, guys. So the difference between my age and the average would be about 20 years. And some of you might say, well, I'm actually, 28, so the difference between my age and the average is only 1 year. We would take the average of all those changes, and that's what gives us a standard deviation. So we say, as a whole, everybody's, or the average change from the mean is about this much. Okay, that's really what the standard deviation tells me. So I want you to notice that between the mean and one deviation to the right, 34% of the data falls within that number. And within two means, there's another 13.5%, and within 3 standard deviations, there's another 2.35. And the graph is symmetric, meaning it does the same thing on the left side, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this picture to answer the question for number 23. So let me get back to 23. Here we go. Let me stop sharing that. And let me get back to the review. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to do, you don't have to do this, guys, because tomorrow you'll be taking your test and you'll have your formula sheet. But I'm going to kind of draw the picture. I know it's not exactly the same as you saw there, but it's the idea is the same. Okay. Sometimes my pen freezes up. X bar, and then X bar plus S, X bar plus 2S, and X bar plus 3S, and the same thing over here. Okay, so it tells me here that my mean age is 75. So that's telling me that the number here in the middle is 75. And it's telling me that my standard deviation is 4. So that means if I were to move over to the right, all I'm really doing here, guys, I'm adding 4. So that would be 79. If I were to add 4 again, that would give me 83. And if I were to add 4 again, that would give me 87. Okay? And if I were to start subtracting 4, 75 minus 4, that would give me 71. If I were to subtract 4 again, that would give me 67. And if I were to subtract 4 again, that would give me 63. And it says, use the empirical rule to find the percentage between 63 and 87. Between 63 and 87. So I know that each of these here are 34%. I know this one here was, I'm going to go back and look at my formula sheet because I forgot off the top of my head, 13.5. So this one here is 13.5. And this one here is 2.35. Same thing here, 13.5, 2.35. So what I'm going to do, guys, remember, these are all percents. I'm just going to add all those percents together. So I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to say, what's 2.35? 2.35. And I'm going from the left to the right. I'm just going to start adding my numbers. So I'm just going to start adding like this. Okay. 2.35 plus 13.5. 35, plus 13.5, plus 34, plus another 34, plus another 13.5, plus 2.35, and I'm coming up with 99.7. And so I would just choose part A, right? So guys, along with the same type of problem, right? Along with the same problem. So again, this is number 23, right? And it said, here my mean score was 75, my standard deviation was 4. The problem that you might have tomorrow might say something like, say, the mean is 60 with a standard deviation of 5. And it might say, use the empirical rule to find the percentage between, I'm going to make this up, say 55 and 65, right? So all you would do is you would say, look, here's my graph, right? The number in the middle is 60. My standard deviation is 5. So if I add 1 to it, it's 65, 70, 75. If I subtract, that's 55, that's 50, that's 45. And if it said, could we find the percentage between 60 and, I'm sorry, between, right here, between 55 and 65, you would say, hey, look, I really just want these two parts. And if those are both 34 and 34, then tomorrow you would say, well, my answer is 68%. Does that make sense on how we're able to kind of figure out number 23? Are we good with that one? Whoever asked me 23, or yeah, I see it in the chat. Yeah, good, good,
Yes.
good, good, excellent, perfect, guys, perfect. What other questions do you guys want to ask me about anything here? Any other questions at all? Don't be shy. I'm happy to answer the questions, guys. So number 30. Okay, let's take a look at number 30. So let me see. I'm gonna grab. Let me get the review sheet. Let me scroll back down. And guys, I'm gonna do number 30. But once I do number 30, if there's any other questions that you guys have, please let me know. Okay, and we'll go over that as well. Okay, so let's take a look here. And it says the ages of the winners of a cycling tournament are approximately bell-shaped. The mean age is 27.3 with a standard deviation of 3.3. In one recent year, the winner in one recent year was 32 years old. Okay, and part A says, transform the age to a z-score, interpret the results, and determine whether the age is unusual. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out what or how do I do a z-score. Okay, so let me pull up the review sheet one more time. I'm sorry, not the review sheet, guys, the formula sheet for you all, so that you can see what I'm going to refer to. Here we go. Okay. All right, so what I'm looking at right here, guys, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. Okay, so here's my z-score. And the way I'm going to do my z-score is I'm going to take the particular value minus the mean and divide it by the standard deviation. And then I'll get to the unusual or very usual or whatever it happens to be. I'll get to that part in a minute, okay? So my formula is x minus mu divided by sigma. Okay, so let me get back to the review, and here we go. Okay, so my z-score is going to be z equals x minus mu over sigma. Okay, and so the x is going to refer to the particular age that we're referring to. So the particular winner we're referring to was 32. So that's going to be the x number. Okay. Guys, remember, mu stands for my population mean, okay? And it says the mean age was 27.3. So that's going to be my 27.3 right here. And then sigma stands for my population standard deviation, which is 3.3, okay? So guys, I'm actually going to, let's see if I can pull this up. Yes. Okay, I'm actually going to show you this part here on the calculator. And guys, whether you, like tomorrow, let's see, I think you guys can still see me right now. So tomorrow, when you're taking your test, if you got a calculator like this, like you might have one from high school, that's fine. If you notice that, you know, anytime somebody says like, hey, sir, can you do this particular problem? You know, I'm stuck with it. I always use that calculator app, and it's called Graph and Calc 83. Let's see, and it looks like this. I think you guys can see this. The calculator, this right here, guys, is the same thing as this right here. So if you have this from high school, perfect, use it if you want to. If you want to download the app to your phone or your iPad, this is my iPad, I got it on my phone too. That's fine with me. You can Android, it works on all of them, okay? I'm going to do this right now because I can't share this screen with you guys. I'm going to do this on my graphing calculator that I can show you with you guys on screen, because this is a common mistake that people make. Okay, so let me pull up the calculator so you guys can see it. Here we go. And okay, you guys can see this now, and I turned it on. So guys, this works exactly the same way the app works, okay? And so when I'm going to do this here, the numbers that I had were 32 minus 27.3 divided by 3.3. So when I'm using my calculator, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put parentheses. 32 minus 27.3, close it off, divided by 3.3. Okay, I'm going to hit equals. I come up with 1.424242424, right? Okay, and you might say, why are you doing parentheses, right? Why don't you just, subtract them and divide? Okay, I can do that, right? If I go 32 minus 27.3, okay, and divide it by 3.3, do I get the same answer? Yes, I do, right? The time when I don't get the same answer, guys, is if I do this. See how I got a very different answer? So my point is, if you're doing this, you either going to, let me do it. Okay, you're either going to subtract them and get your answer and then divide it by 3.3, or you got to do your parentheses. It's 32, sorry, minus 27.3 divided by 3.3. Okay, you either got to do it like that, or you got to just subtract them, get your answer, and then divide by the 3.3. Otherwise, you come up with that other number up there that's all messed up, and that's not what you want. So anyway, my answer here is 1.42. Okay, so let me stop sharing that, and let me come back to our review. Okay, and we came up with 1.42. So here it is, 1.42. It says to go to 2 decimal places. We did. Okay. Okay, now it says interpret the results. The age of 32 is 1.42 above the mean. Why is it above? Because it's a positive 1.42. Okay, and if you look down right here, it's giving me those options for this part. Is it below or above? It's above. If it would have been a negative number, guys, I would have just put below. Okay, now it's asking me, is this going to be unusual or very unusual or not unusual? Okay, and so the way I'm going to figure this out is, let me stop sharing this and let me get to the formula sheet with you guys one more time. Here we go. Okay, so remember, the number we came up with was 1.42, which would be right about there. And that is not unusual, right? It's still in the usual, and it's still in the usual area, right? So if I were to come up with 2 point something or 3 point something, then I would either be unusual or very unusual, right? So am I in the unusual part? No, because we came up with a score right there. So then I stop sharing this, I come back, go back to my review, and I'm going to say, no, this value is not unusual because a z-score between negative and, I'm sorry, not part A, part C. Part C, because a z-score outside of the range is not unusual, right? So I'm not in the unusual part. Let me just double check. I want to make sure I'm telling you guys the right thing. Let's see. Oops. Right here. No, we were right. It was A. Sorry, it was A because a score between -2 and 2 is not unusual, and I'm between those two numbers, right? So anyway, that's how I do number 30, and that's all I'm doing. I'm just kind of doing my formula, And once I find my z-score, if it's positive, it's going to be above, and if it's negative, it's going to be below. And then using that little chart about the unusual will tell me, you know, which my answer is going to be. Okay. Let's see. Any other questions, guys, that you want to ask me? I know that was number 30, so I think the one we did before that was 23. Any questions? Anything in between of any of those problems there? Anybody got any questions about anything?
Just a little question. It's not really to do the question, but for 27, for example, you have to put them in order first, right?
Yes. Yeah, we got to put the numbers in order. For which? I'm sorry. For which one again?
27, the one right
For
there.
27. Yeah. For 27, I do have to put my numbers in order so that I can find my quartiles, so I can find my range and my median, and then my Q1 and my Q3 and that kind of stuff. Yes, I do got to put them in order. Y'all want me to do number 27? Let's see, I heard something in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, let's go over it. Yeah, let's do number 27. Definitely. Okay. So guys, we got to put our numbers in order. Okay, so we're going to put our numbers in order. It looks like the smallest number is maybe 54. I think that's the smallest number. So let me see if we can do that. So we're going to go 54, scratch it. We got 1, 2 55s. Okay. Let's see, after 55, do we have a 56? Yes, we do. Do we have another 56? No, but we got a 57. And do we have any 58s? No, but we have two 59s. So I'm going to go 59 and 59. Okay. So let me get rid of my 59s. And then it looks like we have a 61, a 62, a 63, a 64, 1, 2 65s, oh, another 61, right? Forgot another 61, we'll put it right there. And then we had two 65s, I want to say. 65, 65. And finally, we have 80. Okay, so got my numbers here. All right, and so the first thing I want to do, guys, I need to figure out my meet, like how many numbers do we have? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We got 15 numbers, okay? So remember, if I'm going to find, say, Q2, Q2 is just the median, okay? So the median is, once the numbers are in order from smallest to biggest, what's the number in the middle? So we got 15 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Wouldn't this one here be my median? That's the 8th number, right? So my Q2 is going to be the number 61. Okay. And then if I'm going to find my Q1 says, look at the first set of those numbers, right? And which number here would be in the middle? Out of those numbers that I boxed in red, do y'all agree with me that 56 would be in the number that's in the middle? So that would be my Q1. And then if I were to box, say, these numbers right here, which number here would be in the middle? Anybody know? Out of that second in the green box, anybody know what number is in the middle in the green box? 64, perfect, guys. You guys got it, good. So 64 is right here, okay? Excellent. Okay, so now that we got that part, let's see if we can find B. Let's see if we can find the interquartile range. Okay, so guys, I'm going to stop sharing this piece right here because I want to share the formula sheet with you guys one more time. And where's my formula sheet? It's right here. Okay, and let's see, did I put it on here? Okay, so guys, I'm going to update the formula sheet because it doesn't have the interquartile range. So I'll update that and get it to you. I should have it here. I'm just going to kind of scroll through my notes so that we can find our interquartile range. I'm just trying to remember where it is. Maybe here. Okay, it's probably going to be somewhere over here. Chebyshev theorem. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here's my interquartile range. Q3 minus Q1. Okay, so let's get back to the review. Okay, so my interquartile range, my IQR is Q3 minus Q1. Okay, so we said Q3 was 64, Q1 is 56. So 64 minus 56, that should be 8. Okay. And then we're going to find any outliers. Okay, so the way we're going to find the outliers, let me go back to the formula sheet. I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, so right here is where we have our outliers. The formula is Q1 minus 1.5 of the IQR and Q3 plus 1.5 of the IQR. Okay, so I'm going to use that part here to do this part right here. Okay, so I'm going to take Q1 plus 1.5 times IQR and Q3 minus 1.5 of IQR. Okay, so we said Q1 was the number 56. Okay, plus 1.5 times 8. Q3 was 64. Give me one quick second. Oops, wrong way, sorry. This was minus and this was plus. I got those two switched around. Sorry about that, guys. This was minus and this was plus. So this one is minus, this one is plus, 1.5 times 8. Okay, so I'm going to just take my calculator and figure out 56 minus. I'm going to do parentheses, guys, 1.5 times 8. This is 44. And 64 plus 1.5 times 8. This is 76. Okay. So if I have any numbers in my set that are either smaller than 44 or bigger than 76, those are going to be outliers. So I don't have any numbers smaller than 44. Do we have any numbers that are bigger than 76 in our set here? And any of these numbers here, were any of them bigger than 76? Let's see. So if you guys put it in the chat. Yep, 80. You got it, guys. Perfect. There's my outlier. And you got it done. Good, very good. Excellent. Perfect. Let's see. What else? What other questions do you guys have for me, guys? About anything at all? Anything? Okay, so question. So tomorrow, the question is, how is the exam going to work? Okay, so let me stop sharing this part with you guys. Yes, so this is, okay, so right now, we're on Collaborate, right? So you guys can see me. I can't see you, just don't have your cameras on. But tomorrow, you're going to turn your cameras on. And this is what it's going to look like. What you're going to do mañana is right here. Okay, so guys, all I've done is I'm sharing the main screen from our Blackboard page with you. And if you look here at the top, do you see where it says Test 1, Math 1442, Session 1, Thursday, 3-4, 10 a.m.? And there's the other one right here. If you click on the links right now, it's going to say it's not available because it's not that day yet. But tomorrow, if you're going to sign up for, if you're signing up for the 10 a.m. session, you're going to click on that link, okay? And it's very similar to what we're doing right now. It's very similar to Blackboard Collaborate. And it's just kind of like, if y'all, some of you may know about Zoom, this is pretty much the same thing as Zoom, okay? It's just through Microsoft. And you're going to have your cameras on. And then what you're going to do, you're going to leave, like you're going to leave that window open. And then later on, you're going to scroll down and you're going to click on the My Math Lab link. And then you're going to go to assignments and the test will be there, okay? And then you can open up in another window, you can open up the formula sheet so that you'll have it there, okay? And really all it's going to be, you're going to be working on your test in my lab. And but at the same time, I'll be able to see you guys. And the idea is, like, if we were not in this COVID-19 situation and we were on campus and you'd be taking your test, I'd be able to see you and that kind of thing. And the college is just asking us to do that same kind of process again, right? So that we can, so that I can see you guys as you're taking the test. Again, guys, one thing I really wanted to mention, 14 questions that are almost exactly the same as the ones on the review, right? The numbers change, but the problem is exactly the same, right? So every one of those problems that we did tonight, there's a chance that you'll see them tomorrow, and you may have the same numbers and you might have different numbers, but the problem itself will be the same. So let's see. Yeah, you guys got to take it on Teams. So you'll just do it like that. And again, like I said, I'll be able to see you. You'll be able to see me, and you know, I'll share the directions. Yes, you do get your score instantly. So guys, excellent question. You know, when you're doing your homework and you're doing, say you're on problem 3, and then you hit check your answer and tells you if you got it right or wrong. When you're taking the test, it doesn't tell you if you're right or wrong on any. Let's see. Okay, I think I'm back in business now. Sorry about that, guys. I don't want you, like, if you get question 3 wrong, I don't want you fretting, like, why did I miss 3? You know, let me see what I can do. Go on to 4, right? So you won't know which questions you missed until you've submitted the exam. It's kind of like when you take a quiz on My Math Lab or My Lab Mastering, whatever it's called now. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Awesome. And guys, any questions? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. So what if we close them like 10 a.m. but then like we can't, and then you have to take it at 6? Can we still like change it to 6?
Yeah. So, like, okay, so if you're signed up for 10 a.m. tomorrow morning, but you think you're gonna, like, 10 a.m. you're not gonna make it, just send me a message on Pronto or Mind and say, sir, I'm not gonna make it at 10 a.m. I'm gonna do the one at 6:30. That's no big deal. It's no big deal at all. Thomas, no notes. You can just use the formula sheet, okay? Just the formula sheet, sir. And your calculator, guys. So remember, make sure that you got that either the calculator app or this thing here, because you know it's going to make it that much easier. Okay, guys. The other thing I want to mention is, and I'll tell you this tomorrow too. When you're taking your test, like say those of you who are signing up at 10 o'clock, and you're going to say, sir, how much time do I have? I'm going to set it up, guys, to where like the test won't close until like 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. That's 4 hours. Is it going to take you 4 hours? No, it's only 14 questions. But I'm setting up like a block that big because I don't want you to worry about time, okay? So if it's like 11:30, sir, do I have time? You got plenty of time, okay? I don't want time to be one of those issues that that you're concerned about, okay? So you're going to have plenty of time to do it. Let's see. So any other questions on the review or any other questions about anything in general?
Can we go over number 26?
We can definitely go over number 26. So let me stop sharing this part here. Let me do this here, this here, this here, this here. Okay, so let's go over number 26. Okay, so number 26 says the mean value of land and buildings per acre from a sample of farms is $1,700 with a standard deviation of $300. The data set has a bell-shaped distribution. Assume the number of farms in the sample is 71. Okay, so it says use the empirical rule to estimate the number of farms whose land and building values per acre are between 1,400 and 2,000. Okay, perfect. So guys, the first thing it tells me, this is bell-shaped, and we're going to use the empirical rule. So this problem here is kind of similar to this problem. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw that same picture. I'm going to kind of do this. Here's my deal. And what did we say the mean was? The mean was 1,700. Okay, and my standard deviation is 300. So when I add one standard deviation, that's 2,000. If I add another one, that's 2,300. If I add one more, that's 2,600. And I'm going to start doing the same thing, but subtracting. So if I take 17 minus 3, that's 1,400. That's 1,100. And that's 800. Okay. And it's saying, let's see. Use the empirical rule to estimate the number of farms whose land and building values per acre is between 14 and 2,000. So here's 14, here's 2,000. Remember, these percentages, guys, were each 34%, right? So if I add those percentages together, that's going to give me 68%, right? 68% of the number of farms. Okay. Well, how many farms did we have? We had 71. So I'm going to change this to a decimal, 0.68 times 71. And I'm going to take my calculator, 0.68 times number 71. And I'm coming up with 48.28. And it says round to the nearest whole number. So guys, it didn't tell me to round up. It just said round to the nearest whole number. So this one here should be 48. Okay. And then part B says if 29 additional farms were sampled, about how many of those 29 would have values again between 1,400 and 2,000. So it's still 68%. So now I'm finding 68% of the number 29. Okay, so 0.68 times 29, 19.72. So if I'm going to round to the nearest whole number, this is going to give me 20. Very good question. Excellent. Good, good, good. Any other questions you guys want to ask me about anything? So guys, let me ask you a couple of questions. Let me stop sharing this so you guys can see me. How are you guys finding the videos on YouTube? Are you finding them helpful?
Yes, very helpful.
Yeah. Good. So guys, those videos, those are my videos, right? I sat down, I made them. And I'm hoping, guys, as you're going through the videos, I'm hoping that you notice, like, I'm trying to talk you through the process. Nobody wanted us to be going through this pandemic right now, right? None of us want this. This is not how we want to live. This is not how we were living a year ago. March 3rd of 2020, we were on campus, and we were not only on campus, we were everywhere, right? We were living life. And we've been doing this for a year. So when I made those videos, yes, definitely make sure your smoke detectors are working, guys. You know, when I made these videos, my intent was to make them so that if you're watching it, you feel like I'm there with you, okay? Now, guys, one thing I will say is the way STC has set up their online classes is they're very independent, right? Like we don't meet on certain days, right? I don't do lectures once a week or twice a week or whatever, because that's not how they set it up. They just set it up to where, you know, this is how online courses have traditionally been taught. And for some people it works okay, and for other people it doesn't, because you need a little more structure. So what I wanted to ask you guys was, do you guys feel like you're motivated enough and that kind of thing to do this stuff, or do you feel like you need a little more structure to where, like, say Thursday nights we would have a meeting session for like an hour, and I could answer questions and I could go over new material or whatever it happened to be? Like, would you guys want something like that? And the main reason I'm asking is because we had the freeze, right? We've had a pretty rough year, right? Pandemic, ice storm, all that kind of stuff. Because we had the freeze, one of my other classes, my college algebra class, they tested yesterday. So Monday night, I did a review session with them, and then they took their test yesterday. And in that class, a lot of the students, they don't sit down and start doing their stuff. They need a little more, yeah, sir, we want like a weekly meeting. So I'm going to be doing weekly meetings for that class on Monday night. And I wanted to know if you guys were interested in doing something like, say, Thursday nights. Would you guys want something like that on Thursdays? We meet like right here on this kind of a setup and we answer questions. So I'll tell you what, if you guys feel like you want them, we'll start doing something like that. If you feel like you're good with the videos that I've already set up, then you don't have to join. But I will set one up for probably next week, or if not next week, then the week after that is spring break, so we'll do it the week after that for spring break. Yeah, I'll definitely record them. Perla, and I'll send them out on upload them to YouTube, and I'll send them out on both Remind and Pronto and say, hey guys, this was from our session tonight. This is what we did. You know, check it out if you got questions. And then guys, the other thing I wanted to mention, so like if you were not able to attend on a Thursday night, but you had a particular question, you could always say, sir, can you go over this question tonight? And I'll be more than happy to do that. I'll say, hey guys, you know, somebody had messaged me earlier, asked me if I could do this particular problem, so I want to go through this one here. We can definitely do something like that, okay? Let's see. Do you guys feel better? You feel like you're more ready for tomorrow?
Yes, this really helped.
Okay, so guys, I'll tell you what, we're definitely going to do review sessions before each test. So we got this in our class. We really only have 3 tests. We got test 1, test 2, and then the final. So and I'll start doing sessions on Thursdays or whatever. But when we get ready for test 2, I'll send you guys information again. Say, hey guys, you know, test 2 is next week. I'm going to do a review session the night before, and you know, those of you who can join in, and I'll, you know, get you all the information, and we'll do the same kind of setup. Okay. So I'm glad that those of you who are here, I'm glad you were able to come in. It looks like we got about 11 folks here, which is really good. If you don't have, yes, the final, it is comprehensive, but guys, the one thing I want to mention, so I taught the same class in the fall, right? So all my stuff is already set up, and it's pretty much the same type of way. I think it's 14 questions for each test. It might be 15, but it's not. I don't think it's a whole lot more than that. I want to make sure that I'm telling you the truth. I don't think I really did a really long final. But give me one quick second, and I can tell you because I made the final last semester. Let me see. 14 questions on the final. So yeah, it is cumulative, but I give you guys a review, and it's the same kind of thing. Like, here's 30 questions. I'm going to ask you 14, right? I'm going to do the same kind of setup with Claire. So very good. Guys, if y'all don't have any other questions, I'll let you guys go, but I do thank y'all for joining in tonight. I'm recording the session. I'm going to upload it to YouTube probably within the next hour, and I'll send it out to everybody for those people who weren't able to sign in. Again, guys, tomorrow morning, you guys will, or tomorrow morning, whether at 10 or whether you do it at 6:30, you guys will sign in, and we'll do our test. And whenever you're done, you all are free to go. So thank you all for showing up. I really appreciate it. I think you guys are doing great. And stay safe, guys. You know, stay safe. Be vigilant. You don't want to mess with this thing. It's not good. But again, y'all got questions? Let me know, okay? And you guys have a great night. I'll be right here. If you still got any questions, I'm just going to stop recording the session for us. Excuse me, but I'll be right here in case y'all need anything.
Thank you so much.